for years. Should have known she wouldn't be here on time. But she got stuck in the bowl of M&M's somewhere.
I don't want to. I don't want to go in there.
Come on.
No. I need coffee.
Come on in.
Allegra and Charles will wait for me.
I don't know. If you're too late, you might get whipped instead of me.
Oh, fuck.
That got her to shut up.
Welcome to the Rev Mel Show on TSRnetwork.com, where real people talk about real sex with really kinky people. Welcome, everybody. And there are people that are in the chat room so far, so please, if you're watching the show, and I can't tell how many people are actually watching the show because I am in front of the camera, not sitting at the board. So far we have Art Miller. I know there's more because I saw that there was more when I was over there. So come on into the chat room. We're going to do a single tail demonstration. But I want to introduce my guest, or I should say, welcome to the Rev Mel Show on TSRnetwork.com, where real people talk about real sex with really kinky people. I have to get a board guy to handle this. This is ridiculous, or a bored girl. So I want to introduce my guests, which is Charles and Allegra. Woohoo! Welcome.
Glad to be here.
Are you sure? Are you sure?
Absolutely sure.
I'm moving around. There we are. I'm going to get closer. So we spent last Saturday, Friday night, wasn't it Friday night talking?
Mm-hmm.
All that long?
Both a little bit, mostly Friday, yes.
Yeah, we were talking and talking. So if you're in the chat room, please, Art Miller says, I can see. Can I be the host? You want to be the host of my show, Art Miller? Art Miller.
You're going to get demoted.
You know what? Then I can just sit back, work the board, drink my coffee.
Mm-hmm.
Some people like a little demotion in their life.
Yeah, just relax, just be cool, not care, just be mellow out. It's so much easier when I have people on the webcam because I can be dressed with nothing but just my top on, and I don't have to worry. The camera's up close, everything, and I just can control everything. And then when they're talking, I can just go to sleep for a few moments. But I'm always on camera.
Sorry, we insisted on showing up.
Well, they could have done this in San Francisco because that's what they're living.
Yes.
So I've known Allegra for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
She used to rent an apartment where I used to manage an apartment many moons ago, and I lost the chat room. There it is. But there it goes again. These iPads.
Get you set up on a laptop with that.
Oh, I know, but then it's always right here and it's really big.
You make some really little ones now.
I have a stand for it, but I like putting it underneath there because if no one's asking questions, I can stick it underneath there and it stays far away. So like I said, I've known Allegra for a long time. I know her credit rating.
Uh-oh.
There are some embarrassing statistics.
No, I know her credit rating from many years ago, and
back when it was good.
Yeah, and yours was. I mean, mine's worse than yours. Trust me, I know mine's worse than yours.
Okay.
So, and Charles, I met Charles for the very first time. I was at Folsom Street Fair. Allegra was walking through the crowd, and I went, and she kind of looked at me and said, "Rev Mel!" And we hugged each other. And Art Miller says, "I like to drink, host, and get big cups." No, yeah, I need bigger cups. Yeah, I need bigger cups. I agree.
Anyway.
Yeah, something really big. Like cocks. Like I like the cock. So we're going to get into some serious conversation. I'm kind of fragmented because, we've been setting up for, we're going to do a single tail demo, and it's going to be done with a black light. And because I don't have a board person or camera guy or nobody helping me right now, that I have to do all the work. So I'm the crew, the producer, the host. I get the coffee, the water, the gopher, I'm the PA, the lower totem pole person. But if you're watching the show and you're not in the chat room, please come into the chat room because we're gonna have some fun time tonight. I think we always get people coming in about 10 minutes afterwards.
Okay.
And all of a sudden they go, oh shit. So I should have had her put her iPad on so she can iPad it to all her friends and stuff like that.
Well, I did it once on the feed, but
I did it again today.
okay.
Yeah, and I've done it like 50 million times today too. It's really important. I mean, it's really important that we get the ads out there. So I met Charles. She said that she was with Charles. I instantly liked him. And
She did.
And I says he's taken. And so I get to ask those very wonderful, fantastic questions to him that I've been pining for 2 years now. And it's been 2 years, right? Or is it a year?
Since we
It will be.
saw each other again?
Yeah.
Probably 2 years, yeah.
Yeah.
Wholesome, but-
Because it was not this recent Folsom, so I think it was the Folsom before.
At least.
Yeah, I didn't go to the one during the summer. I was the one before, and it was so crowded.
Yeah.
I mean, I had a panic attack in the whole. Well, I think we talked about that, didn't we, the other night about tall people?
Mhm.
Oh, a little bit, yeah.
And you said because what did you tell me again?
Oh, well, as I recall, it was something about how when people feel closed in, so a person may be able to handle that, but it can contribute to someone feeling unsafe. You know, that people feel they're most relaxed and they're
So I'll
safest
sit
in
over here.
open spaces.
I'll sit over here in the open spaces. No, just joking.
No, we can't see you on the camera.
Oh, that's okay. That's okay. I don't need to be on camera. In fact, I was thinking of even doing the interview with you two on the camera and me on another camera. And then but then we're gonna then I was gonna complicate things. Then I would have had a split screen.
Then you could have had your pajamas.
I could have had my pajamas on. I could have been using my vibrator, masturbating. You know, I could have done
You could
anything.
still be doing that right now. I don't think they would complain.
I suppose since there's, the nudity thing that you can't do, you could just imply everything.
So, Charles, how big is your cock?
Well, she's the one that has to deal with it, so I might want to ask her.
It's pretty big.
It's pretty big.
It's pretty big. Yeah. I'm not good at
Inches?
inches.
Well, no women are good at inches
Yeah.
because men keep saying, I'm 6 inches.
Right.
You know?
No, more like what that? I would say what's that in inches?
That's about 7-ish.
7?
You're
What are you?
you're
I don't
doing
even
this.
know. Well, it depends. I mean,
Oh, he doesn't wear dependents. No, we're not going to talk about age play with dependents.
Let's just say that it's almost impossible for me to get a decent blowjob. Doesn't matter who it
Yes.
is.
Yes.
So-
I'm one of those guys.
So, and you have big girth.
Yes.
I've got everything that makes it a problem to get blowjobs.
Are you circumcised?
No.
I've only seen one person that was not circumcised. We can't show it tonight. Sorry, we can't show it because of.
What if we put a sock on it? It'd be clothed, right?
I got some colorful socks. Can we get those
Mhm.
colorful
How big are your socks?
He did tell me a story that when he took, what was it, ballet lessons when
Mhm.
you were a teenager, he kept having to
In the
send.
20s, actually.
In your 20s, yeah, he kept having to send his tights back to the, to the tailor to fit them because his cock didn't fit in his ballet tights. And he kept trying to get them to enlarge them. So
Yeah.
that answers one of your questions.
About the third time I just
shower
said,
or grower.
put an orange in it.
socks.
If you can't put an orange in it, it won't work.
So, do you have big balls or little balls? Is that my phone?
If you
Not
take
my
if you
phone.
take an orange, then you know what the whole package is like, not inflated. You inflate that sucker and you got a lot of money to
So you can do teabag.
I never have.
No, I don't want. No, thank you. No. I know you've wanted me since the moment you saw me. I'd like to fuck that old broad.
Well, you did come right at him and give him a giant hug right away. So
Because I was pleased. I was happy for you.
All right, and do you even remember all the sloppy kisses you gave me at the time?
No, I didn't.
I don't remember them either. I was just wondering if you did.
I didn't do that. No way. Did I do? No, I didn't do that.
no, you didn't.
No.
But now it's a rumor and
Now
everyone
it's a
knows it's
rumor,
true, even
yeah.
if it never happened.
Well, that was that time that you were here with that Allegra.
Oh, is that what you were?
Too many rupees flying around.
Let's start the rumors.
All right.
And then the last time Allegra was here, you don't know what her and I
Yeah.
did.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So have you ever had anal sex?
Sure. Mhm. Not really either.
With the dildo?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
Did
with
you
her
like it?
and various other people.
Was it okay?
Well, it's more than okay. How well do you think I liked it?
He likes it a lot.
Oh,
Yeah.
cool. So does it really help when a mistress or someone or who's ever doing it says, don't worry, breathe, relax?
She doesn't need to.
I'm way too good at it.
Yeah. I was all used to my asshole, which is like, tight and hard to get into, and he's just like, I'm like, am I hurting you? He's like, no. So.
Mind over matter.
Yeah, no, you get a cock near my butt. I don't. I think I'm a porpoise. I'm a syndrome.
I've heard that dolphins at least are terrible sexually. They are just like the most horrible gang rapists.
I know. I've heard that too. That I think they're like the only species that actually does rape.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Gang banging.
Right. So now whenever I
Of
think
their own species.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I don't know if you've seen our recent seal penguin.
No.
Oh man, we should have worn our T-shirt.
Thought about it.
We now identified seal penguin. We saw a video of seals raping penguins. It was really horrific and also just awesome.
So if you go to like one of those furry parties, you guys go in as penguins?
Oh no, we went
we went to a furry party.
we went to the Citadel, and they had a, as serious as they get, master slave party, and we show up in our seal penguin.
It's just T-shirts.
I think you guys should make an outfit.
We're working on it.
And then you could, just stuff a big dick to the front of it and
Mhm.
walk around and walk.
As serious as we take ourselves in some ways, and and we live this stuff together, at the same time, we've got to make it silly too. We've got to poke fun at it, because it's it really is. The more you learn about it, the more you're like, wow, I'm a little like a porpoise or a dolphin or a seal or whatever. It's just.
I don't know what animal I am.
Well, supposedly.
Are you going to give me an animal?
No, I'm just going to say that humans are supposedly the most evolved critter out there. What that means is we've got all of those lower animals running around inside our brains. So we kind of have everything going on.
Yeah, I think we've been, if you believe in reincarnation, we've been everything and anything. From a little amoeba, little thing in the swamp. So
Or if you just go purely Darwin, then it's similar in a sense, because in order to become human, this species had to be other stuff first.
Oh, we're going to talk about intelligent design again? We're not going to talk about intelligent. I've just discovered intelligent design. So I'm kind of fixated with it. During the day I think about it all the time. Intelligent design. So, but I find it really fascinating. So, Allegra.
Yeah.
No, still with you.
Mm-hmm.
So when was the first time you actually had sex with somebody? I'm talking about full-on intercourse.
Right, not with blowjobs.
Okay, let's start with blowjobs.
Okay. That would have been when I was 20.
20?
Mhm.
A blowjob?
Yeah.
Oh, you're a Mormon?
I was living in the smallest town you could possibly imagine.
Where?
Fort Alexander, Alaska. 120 people total population, 70 miles away to the nearest town.
That's why you're so mellow.
Could be.
You're from Alaska.
Mhm.
It's fucking cold. You gotta patiently wait for the snow to clear. It's beautiful up there, though. Did you like living up there?
Mostly, yeah. I mean, there's less up there, but at the same time, there isn't a sense of pressure up there that you get everywhere.
Did you go hunting? Did you hunt and stuff
A
like that?
bit. I was never really that much of a hunter myself, but most people were. I went once or twice. It's just every time I went, people weren't lucky and didn't find anything. But I grew up, eating fish and venison that people had caught or shot, so forth. Subsistence living.
They're saying in the chat room that the audio's a little light. It's because we're talking so quietly. So I'm going to break away while they look at each other lovingly and turn it up just a little bit. So I'm going to talk to the board person up there. All right, you guys. That's hysterical. and I have it up pretty high, but I think the problem is that all three of us have a really low tone voice.
We do.
We don't have a screechy voice. You know, we don't, I think we have, is that a little bit better? So we don't have a squeaky voice, and so it doesn't carry.
Right.
So maybe we should just raise our voice up a little bit higher, talk a little bit
I'll
louder.
try. I use my theater training, but my voice is tired. I was singing in the car on the way here. I shouldn't have done that.
What were you singing?
Simon and Garfunkel.
You know the words?
Of course.
What song?
All of them.
What
I was mostly rocking out to the boxer.
what's the words on the back? Can you sing it?
Now I have to think of it without it playing in front of me. I'm just a poor boy, though my story's seldom told. I have squandered my resistance. See, it has to be playing. Something such are promises.
We should do BDSM singing.
I think I've done something similar before. Didn't I have you?
We'll
Did I
do
have
that.
you sing once, or was it dancing? I might have had you dance once. Went to the Power Exchange of all places.
Maybe that was her.
That wasn't
Was
me.
that Well, somebody
Oh
was
no, we did. Yeah, you
somebody
had.
was pole dancing.
Yeah, we
Sort of.
went to the Power Exchange in San Francisco, and they had a big like stage with a stripper pole at the end, and so we got me up there dancing and he was whipping me.
I've never been to the Power Exchange.
It was pretty creepy.
Yeah, I understand that. You know,
Yeah, we had a big enough group of people that we just kind of took up our own space, and
It's like the haven for creepy people. They need their own space too.
I think so. There you go. Yes, you go. But arts is better. Great.
yay. Okay.
So how did you, Charles,
Mhm.
and how many years have you been into the BDSM activity and lifestyle? I mean, how did you find? And we'll get to her too.
Mhm.
How did you find BDSM?
I was vaguely aware of it for a number of years, not because of anyone I knew, not because of anything I saw. Maybe there was some movie, maybe there was some documentary, maybe there was something I read, and it seemed somehow impossibly distant. Like I'll never meet anyone who's actually like that, so it doesn't matter whether this is interesting.
This is when you were in Alaska.
Yeah.
And did you meet anybody in Alaska that was?
I did eventually. I had a computer store up there that I started back in, I guess, let's see, it was 20, so it would have been 1995. And a couple of years after I started it, this guy that I'll mention later, his mom walked into the store and said, "Hi, my son's here going to college, and he's a little shy, and it seems like you might have some things in common." So she kind of set him up to wind up being friends with me, and we met and we enjoyed each other's company. We became friends for a little while. I actually wound up hiring him to work in the store with me, and after I sold the store a number of years later, he wound up being a roommate. So he and I spent a pretty good amount of time together. He was a graphics artist, so he was very visual, and he would occasionally drop hints about people that he knew in California, which is where he spent a lot of his growing up years. And he wouldn't go into a lot of detail. He would just kind of drop hints or say that he had some things that people in a town like Sitka shouldn't see.
Sitka. I like that name.
Yep, that was where I was born. Little town of 8,000 people, once again on an island, very remote, little fishing village. So he dropped these hints, and eventually I decided that I was interested. I had heard enough hints. I was thoroughly interested because I had somebody who was interested in getting involved with me, and she was kind of a childhood sweetheart that we never really took things very far. And she showed some interest, and I talked to this fellow, and he gave me some pointers about where I could look to even have some idea about where to get started with it. So, I followed his advice, and there was an old toy shop called the Sub Shop way back, which
It was it was called the sub shop.
it's called the Sub Shop.
I like that.
And the nice
But no
thing
dominance could go in there, right? You You
It
can only
was-
be sub.
Apparently, they didn't screen me out. So anyway, this wasn't just a toy store. It had little, advice for new people sections. Even though it was a commercial thing being a toy store, it had stuff that they weren't selling that they advised people on. These are, recommended reading for getting started. So I got stacks of books and, I got a few toys. I got the first collar that I gave for that relationship. So that was how I discovered it. It took somebody wandering up from California to Alaska, and eventually 7 years later, after I had my relationships up there privately, not knowing anything about the kinky community or that it even existed, 7 years later, I went back to California.
Yeah, and
to
then,
pursue more.
and you went to San Francisco.
Mhm.
Did you always, from Alaska, did you settle completely into California, into San Francisco, or did you go anywhere else and stay anywhere else?
No, it was pretty much a direct move, and there was no wandering around about it.
I like San Francisco. San Francisco is awesome. So what was it like going to your first public dungeon in San Francisco?
Well, that was an interesting event because I was familiar with Collar Me, and that was one of the reasons I moved to California. So in late 2006,
Because Collar Me offices were in San Francisco, or because you just read things about it?
I was able to look by state to see who had the most kinky people, and California tended to. So I said, hey, that might be the place to go. And I spent a lot of time on the forums, and I talked to some people about possibly meeting. And I was heading down for some IT training camps and some stuff to, for education and career and so forth. So I already had another reason that, that I might go to California periodically, and I found somebody who was interested in meeting me, and I could find out all about the Citadel from Alaska. I didn't have to be down here. They're very public. They're very out there, very easy to find. And so, my first time going there, I was supposed to have a date. This is somebody I had been talking to, and she got cold feet.
That happened.
A couple of days before.
That's a Collar Me thing.
Yeah.
I've done that before.
Yep, me too.
So yeah, this person got cold feet, and I showed up myself. It was interesting because the language was very different to what I was used to. The default was tops and bottoms, and that was the language that they used.
At
the Citadel with the people that I met.
Oh, they didn't do dominant and submissive. They did tops and bottoms.
That was their default.
Oh,
It
wow.
isn't that nobody did anything else, but that was the default.
Oh, wow.
And it wasn't what I was used to, because I already knew from past preferences in my life that I like making decisions. I like leading. And so that was the kind of relationship I wanted. And all of the SM stuff is sort of peripheral to that point. So I get down there where, tops and bottoms, it's not really about the relationship style. It's now about the activities. It's about the SM in and of itself.
Yeah.
So very different culture. And so the language was different. Just visually, it had the appearance of the kind of stuff that worked for me. But so I at first had the impression that, oh, I've discovered people who are like me. This is so relaxing. I don't have to be as nervous about how people are going to respond to me. Although I did discover later that, if the default is tops and bottoms, we don't necessarily live together. It's not exactly.
Yeah. Did you go to the old one, and then when they had the old Citadel before they moved, or was it? How long have they moved to the new one? Several years, quite several years ago.
A couple of years, yeah.
Yeah.
So this was in 2007 that I first went, and I know they had a location before that too, but I don't remember the address on it.
Yeah, I went to the old one, and did I go to I think I've been to the new one too. I don't remember. I don't remember at all. But Allegra, how did you discover BDSM?
Well, ever since I was a wee little thing, I had fantasies of, I would go back and read the parts in books where people were like, someone was spanked or punished or something, and then that progressed into kidnap stuff or whips or And then forcible stuff as I became more aware of sexuality. I had rape fantasies, and I figured I would have to have a holodeck from Star Trek to ever experience it. And it wasn't until I got to college, I had my own laptop, I put in rape as a fantasy into Google and discovered it was everything. What's going on?
Find something or someone unexpectedly during the course of a search.
Wow.
I triggered Siri.
That's hysterical. That was hysterical. BDSM.
It turned off.
It's not working for me. I didn't touch it. That was hysterical. Art Miller also put in the name of.
She touched the button from across the room. It's like that old movie. What's the one? Somebody across the room. He's like, "Did you grab my ass?"
That was hysterical. Hello, little T is in the chat room. Welcome, little T. So that was. It's the ghost in here.
I think so.
It's my spirit guide going.
Yeah.
Woo! It's the woo woo. The woo woo phrase is from San Francisco. You know that.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
For some reason, I thought it was an East Coast thing.
No, people have said, oh, San Francisco, the people of BDSM, they're woo-woo up there. Oh, yeah, woo-woo. So, because they're a little bit more, I think you've done, they do amazing posting. I mean, if you really get a chance, tell them your screen name on FetLife so people know.
We've done the cheesiest of things and combined our names into one name for the sake of a shared FetLife profile. I'm Charles, she's Allegra, so our shared profile is Charlegra.
Which is CHARLEGRA.
And they do amazing posts, and they pay attention to the posts, and they accurately, reply, and they carry on a great conversation. That's why I love to read the things that they have written. And I think we did talk about, I think there was, on one of your posts, they talked about spirituality and BDSM,
Oh,
do you remember that?
I kind of missed that one. I was out of town or something, but I do remember seeing that a little bit, the spirituality and BDSM.
Yeah, it comes up once in a while. I've got a group with, people who are not necessarily prolific posters themselves, so I'm always trying to come up with something for people. I'm sure I've come up with that one more than once. If it's been more than 6 months since something's been discussed,
It's time to do the kids. So, Allegra, your first experience, was it a public play? Was it private play?
It was private play. I discovered alt.com, and so I started talking to people online. Although I think I played first with somebody that I already knew as a friend. They kind of explained my interest, and we tried playing a little bit. And then I started meeting people from online, and that didn't really go well because they'd always show up, and I didn't feel like they were actually dominant.
Yeah.
And I didn't really understand the difference between topping and being dominant, and like the activities versus, I just wanted to be submissive. I didn't care what activities we were doing. And so I was always disappointed that the people I met didn't seem dominant enough or controlling enough or whatever.
So submissive to you, is it of being of service? Is that something that is your dire need?
That's a part of it, but I think it actually started more with a desire to be, I'm actually not even sure that submissive is the right word to describe it. I think it started more, the fantasies were more about being overpowered and helpless and controlled. And as I discovered BDSM and started exploring it more, I discovered that I also enjoyed serving and stuff like that. But the fantasies up until I discovered BDSM were mostly about being controlled and overpowered.
When I first met Allegra, she came into Allegra site, absolutely beautiful, gorgeous girl. All the guys were going crazy. All the women that were bisexual were going crazy. And I think we had a strip pole at that time. You remember that?
I do remember that.
I mean, in the middle of the main room, and nobody used it except you and a couple other girls. And she was an instant hit at the Allegra side. Everybody liked her. And then you got into something which was a very fascinating career change for you. and you work for Kink, was it kink.com?
I did all kinds, I did, yes.
Yeah.
But I did all kinds of videos, not
And-
just kink.com.
And Allegra is your stage name?
No.
No, Allegra
No, Allegra is my real name.
is, I always thought that Allegra was your stage name.
No, I know, and you think, because it's such an awesome name.
I always thought that,
No, Charlotte was my stage name, and I went by Charlotte for so long, and then I was really excited when I finally got to start to go by Allegra.
oh my God, I didn't know that. I mean, and I looked at her credit report.
And you thought that I had a credit report under my stage name. No wonder it was so awesome.
Yeah, it was, and we shared bathrooms. I mean, our bathrooms were next to each other, so I could hear her taking a shower.
Oh.
Yeah, so I could, I could hear that. So you're looking at the, oh, they talking about power exchange, but you said lucky pole. It was nice. Little T says hello.
I know all about having a lucky pole.
It's getting silly now.
Good. It's good to get silly. So, Allegra, how old were you when you lost your virginity?
I was 18. And I'm not just saying that to be legal. I was actually 18.
We were all late bloomers. You were a late bloomer?
Yeah.
Well, by necessity, not by design.
And
Yeah, because he followed the rules.
I was a late bloomer too.
When did you lose? I should know this by now.
Was I 18? 18 or 19? Yeah. Married him. Stupid.
Oh, I didn't do that.
We had a beautiful daughter by it, so
Oh.
that made it
Worth
all
it.
up. Yeah. So it's not about tonight's not about me. I could share stories with you. So have you ever been a woman?
I have.
Are you bisexual by
I have.
design?
By design.
I
don't
Intelligent
know.
design.
What does that mean?
Somebody seemed to have designs on them. That's kind of thing.
What does that mean by design? I don't know. No, I didn't. I had no idea that I was bisexual for a while. And then actually, at the end of college, I had turned off Collar Me for 6 months or whatever. I was set up with all these online meetings, and I turned it back on and saw that somebody had written me, a couple days after I logged off. So it had been 6 months, and he looked really interesting. So I wrote him back. I was like, hey, it's been a while, but you look interesting. And he replied and said, oh, well, since I wrote you, I've gotten a submissive girlfriend, but we'd still be interested in speaking with you. And my first response was, oh no, that's not what I'm looking for. And then I stopped and thought about it. I was like, wait a minute. I've been spending the last 4 years talking to dominant men, and I consider myself a submissive woman. Maybe I should spend some time talking to a submissive woman too, And so I thought, okay, I'll get to know them and see. And so I went and met them, and then she wanted to talk me as well, and it was through that I started to discover that I might actually have an interest in women more than just friendship.
Are you both poly, or are you guys? I can't say that word. I stuttered because I don't believe in it. I'm monogamous.
It's more that we're, I would say, cautiously open to something that's a long-term or serious quality. I'm not really big on being super casual. We're not swingers. Casual play is something that I sampled partly because it's so popular in the kinky communities.
Yeah.
And I really don't feel that. I don't have much interest in casual play unless it's every once in a great while, and it's very light. But yeah, we're interested in meeting someone that we can form a deep and lasting bond with, and
So what are
not really frivolous or cavalier about it.
So what are the qualities that you look for if you were to add another person into the frame? So what qualities?
Her name should start with Rev.
Rev
Mel.
And that's my stage name too.
That's true.
So what qualities do you look for in I'll ask you first, and then I'll ask you. So what qualities do you look for in somebody? Oh, I'm not applying, you guys. I could be I could apply for their grandmother.
Oh, that could be sexy too.
Honestly, someone's personality is what matters most. And that was something that was a little bit difficult for her, having this experience as a model and being used to being appreciated primarily for her appearance.
Mm-hmm.
That's a big bonus to me, but it's not the number one thing. It really isn't. Being relationship oriented as opposed to career oriented, being very open and comfortable with spending a lot of time with someone, valuing their connection and their teamwork over independence, and wanting all of their private time and separate interests. All of that stuff's important.
Yes.
It's really amazing because Charles seems like such a serious person. But when you really sit down and talk to him, he is serious, but he does have a good sense of humor.
Yeah.
It keeps me sane, or sane as a clown.
Sane as a clown?
Or a seal.
A seal? Allegra, what do you look for? If you had, are you talking open poly family to male or female? Is it both or just female?
Well, I think it would be hard to include a male just because we would both want to have a really deep connection with the person. And so if he randomly made a connection with a male, then that would be great, but I've never seen him connect. I mean, he has, friends, but he's not bisexual as far as we know. So I think that it would probably have to be female because I think we're both poly-wired. Now it's going to look up poly-wired.
It is. It says, why not get your polywag heard, as this is not your polywag heard. Polywag? This is, you guys have to see this, okay? Ready? We're not lying to you guys. Can you see that? Isn't that absolutely ridiculous? I don't know. And it's only from you.
I know. My voice is picking up on
It's picking up your voice. So that's hysterical. Art Miller says the focus on relationship is very refreshing. Looking for then the activities. I like that.
Yeah,
Yes.
I absolutely agree. And I like reading about the history in what we do, partly because people get really worked up about things that often turn out to be myths or some sort of bullshit they're trying to peddle. And I like to know, to a certain extent, where some of this stuff came from, even if it was before my time. And from what I gathered, so origin of SSC. Now I'm not going to remember some of the names of people who coined this stuff and said what when, but from what I gather about SSC, that was coined because the AIDS crisis hit, and there was
safe, sane, and consensual. If you're wondering what SSC.
Right. So
acronyms I don't do well with.
So back in the 80s, there was a lot of tragedy going on with AIDS. People were barely aware of what it was, but people were starting to die from a lot of people. And so that was a big thing that got some of the attention. But there was a lot of SM interaction. A lot of that stuff comes from bar environments where they're serving liquor. And back in those days, the approach was very, very different, and there was a lot of danger for people who went there.
So safe, sane, and consensual was not pre-AIDS?
That was a response to AIDS.
I didn't know that.
That was a response to people, especially gay men dying of AIDS. And apparently what was going on was there were things like fisting parties where people didn't know anything about safe sex. So there were, these were people who were anally fisting and sharing tubs of lube with multiple partners. So they're just putting their whole fist in a big tub of lube, and they're putting them in a variety of different assholes.
I
So
am
you
listening.
talk about,
Sorry, we are listening. I can take the variety of different assholes. See,
Right.
I am paying attention.
right. So I mean that if you wanted to intentionally spread AIDS, that's got to be, I would think, the most effective way to do it, unless you're just going to inject something right into the bloodstream, because the walls of the anus are fairly fragile. You're talking about somebody's entire fist here, so you're going to get a little bit of minor trauma, and you're going from asshole to asshole, and then just dipping in that same tub of lube. So that was one of the things that apparently used to go on back in the SM bars of the day. In addition, consent was not really important to a lot of people back then. There were a lot of people who would tops would engage in heavy cruising, which meant a bunch of buddies would get together and find a bottom that looked available or like they could maybe get somewhere with it, and they would overwhelm that bottom. They wouldn't be necessarily looking for consent. And the insidious thing, if you think about it, is especially back in that days, this was so closeted. Who can that person turn to for being effectively raped by a bunch of drunken people in an S&M bar?
No one.
Right?
I've never asked that question. I've never ever speculated or even thought about safe, sane, and consensual.
Mm-hmm.
I never
Actually,
thought that about it.
There's actually a group that he reads a lot on FetLife that's called the documented history.
The documented history of the lifestyle from such and such age to such and such age. But I'm getting to a point here eventually. So safe, sane, and consensual was about, safe meaning safe sex, or, don't do that thing with the lube.
Yeah.
Sane means not drunk or high, which a lot of these things were happening in a bar where people were drunk and high.
Mhm.
Consensual means don't gang up on people without finding out whether that's going to be okay. So those three things, it seems very nice until you realize that SSC was a response to a really nasty situation.
Oh yeah. It never occurred to me.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I thought it started when people started doing BDSM and all this. I mean, but BDSM has been around forever.
Mm-hmm. No, back in the day, it was just S&M, and sometimes people would speak in code. They'd say, "Do you play the saxophone or the mandolin?" And that was code.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
I don't play either one, so.
You might play the saxophone.
Okay.
Obviously, do you play the saxophone? Meaning, are you a sadist?
Oh,
Do you play the mandolin? Or are you a masochist?
Oh,
So it's code.
so you do play the saxophone.
I do play the sax.
Right. So, okay, leading up to the actual point in all of this, we're talking about relationship connections versus
I'm a
activities.
saxophone now. So I'm a sax.
Well, you play one at least.
I like that.
Mhm.
I like that.
So SSC came in, but there was a downside to when it came in. And what happened was there was such a focus. People didn't necessarily know what it was a response to. It was a response to this nasty behavior in bars. When SSC became super popular and popularized, safety became something that was now a way to get reputation, to get fame, popularity, and the way people would do that was by saying, "Well, I know the safest way to do this technique. I have the credibility because I know the right way to do this technique." And the community at the time became very technique oriented, and they lost the focus on relationships.
I think they did. But, I mean, safety, everyone talks about safety. Safety, safety, safety. I mean, the whole FetLife and collar space, they're all about safety.
Mhm.
Everything. And all the classes that you hear about is safety. And we don't talk enough about relationships. But remember in the vanilla world, before all three of us got into BDSM and we got on the internet, the things that we used to do.
I think we had this conversation a little bit on Friday night.
Yeah, I mean, I tied myself to a bed, blindfolded myself, and had a complete stranger come to my house and fuck me.
Mhm.
I wouldn't do that today.
I met that couple that actually introduced me to my interest in women, but I met them by taking a train down to LA at night, texting my roommate to say where I was, except the text didn't go through, so no one knew where I was, and he picked me up from the train station at 10:30 at night in his truck. So I didn't know. Like, put a collar around my neck and a leash on me, and it kind of took me to his truck.
And
And it turned out fine, but I mean,
we took risk.
Yeah.
We took a lot of risk.
Mhm.
I mean, how many men in my late 30s, and I mean, because I'm a little bit older than you guys, that I met on the internet and fucked.
Mhm. It's really easy to recognize the needs of physical safety. but it's also, I think, all too easy to overlook the needs for emotional safety.
Mm-hmm.
True.
And that's what you lose sight of if it's all about the technique, if it's all about the obvious physical safety.
Mm-hmm. So what changes have you seen since both of you have gotten into BDSM? You've been involved in it now how many years?
Well, I mean, I didn't start going out in public with it until 2007.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know how many years is that.
That's 8 years ago.
Yeah.
That's a long time.
Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah, 8 years ago. I mean, there's a lot of changes that I've seen in 8 years. So what changes have you guys seen since you guys have been involved in BDSM?
Changes have we seen where?
In relationships, in the way that we live our lifestyle in BDSM. I mean, I see a lot of arrogance.
Mhm.
I see a lot of cockiness.
Mm-hmm.
I see a lot of I'm the best and I'm a master or I'm a goddess or and I can do anything I want because I'm bigger than God. I've seen so much of that.
I feel like I saw that when I came in though, so I don't know that that's changed. I think that's always been here.
See, when I first got involved,
For me though.
yeah, I guess I didn't. It was there, but I really didn't. I didn't see the inflated egos as much as what I see now, and I think that's the difference. Yes, there was the I love you dominance male. There's a lot of male dominant, cocky male dominance, but they were still really nice.
Mm-hmm.
And now a lot of those men that I've known are pricks, are assholes, who I would want nothing to do with. I'm talking, that were my friends.
I wonder if it becoming more mainstream and more people involved in the community and less of a need to be quite so closeted. I mean, some people still do, but it's a little more acceptable now, I think, these days to be into BDSM. Maybe that makes it less like the larger the community gets, the easier it is to screw over some people in it and still be accepted. Whereas if it's really tightly knit, then, if you're out, you're out. But I've seen people, I know people that have done awful, I know people that have been jackasses and are still well regarded within the community. And a large portion of the community knows they've been jackasses, but they don't care because they throw great parties or, they teach good technique.
And how do you feel about it? How does that make you feel?
It's a mixed bag for me because I sort of feel like I don't believe that any group of people is going to be without its flawed people. I don't believe that we can form in such a large group of people any kind of filtering system where there's not going to be any assholes, because there are assholes everywhere.
Yeah,
And so I think that to suggest that we can somehow create this community that is completely safe and flawless is not true, because I also think that one person's asshole is another person's God. So there's a degree where there's got to be some flux. But I do think that what I don't like is that people don't stand up for what they don't believe in, or for what they believe in or what they don't believe in. If you see someone do something you don't like, I think you should be able to say that. And that doesn't mean that they should get banned from the community necessarily, but people, if someone's popular, they're afraid to say, well, this person did this and I don't like it.
Let's dissect that. Okay, now there's going to someone on a one-to-one basis. Like let's say Charles was an asshole, and he's not. And he was an asshole. If I saw something that he did,
He might be someone else's asshole, but he's my God.
But you go on a one-to-one. But with the internet and FetLife, if somebody calls somebody out publicly, they're crucified. I'm not talking about the offender. I'm talking about the person that's calling them out. And other people jump on the bandwagon. And how dare you say that about that person? When in truth, I would say maybe 75% is correct. Well, do you guys have an opinion on that?
A little bit.
Well,
I jump in before you.
I mean, I don't know. I mean, I guess all three of us have been around before FetLife popped in. And in my view, it's convenient and it can be a helpful tool in some regards, but I think it's actually made the community worse in general because certain things are rewarded that I think are kind of a shame that they're so heavily rewarded. A lot of conversations devolve into how many people can I get to agree with me, and it can be the most obnoxious discussion or the most obnoxious statement, but and it's often something that once this person leaves their bubble of rabble rousing and engages in real people that they see.
Oh, it did it for you now.
Citigroup closed up 2.04% today at $53.49.
I think you may need a new iPad.
That is hysterical.
That one's haunted.
This one's haunted. Yeah, and there are some questions there, but we will get to your questions as soon as we get done with this conversation. And I'm going to set it right there.
Yeah.
So let's
So
continue.
I've seen communities get worse because of FetLife. Partly because, like I say, there's a lot of how many people can I get to agree with me? What kind of rabble rousing can I get? That as soon as you leave that bubble, there aren't that many people in their community that necessarily see things that way. But the illusion is that that there is some kind of consensus, and often a very viciously stated consensus about something that may have come up in some sense in their community, but it's just nasty. Nasty things get said in nasty ways.
Oh, I know they do.
Yeah, I have a really hard time with it because I believe that people should be able to stand up and tell their stories and say this person hurt me or this was my experience or whatever. But something about the internet does for me that it does not work there. The only thing I've been able to come up with is maybe if people were allowed to post a journal entry and lock it so that people couldn't reply to it, maybe that would help. But for me, the internet connects so many people that don't know each other in person that you get people commenting on this person's, and they know nothing, but they walk in like they do, and they're like, well, yes, this person is a jackass, or yes, they live across the country. They don't know any of us. And so to me, it's a very mixed balance because I do believe that we should be able to step up and speak about our experiences, but I'm not sure that the way the internet is structured right now is the proper tool for that. And I wish that there were more ways to do that in person with people. And because when we go to discussion groups in the city or wherever, I don't see people being nearly as rude and just mean like they are on FetLife. So
They are mean, and
Yeah.
I'm looking for the thing to turn the sound off.
it's right here.
Thank you. She's going to turn my sound off so we don't hear it. There we go. All right, good. Thank you.
One of the other things that has made FetLife worse in this regard is the addition of kinky and popular, and especially the love button.
Oh, I know.
Yeah.
I have never been kinky and popular. Never.
I take some solace in that because that means it's appealing to the lowest common denominator, and the lowest common denominator is going to be not kinky.
Take a picture of your vagina and you'll be kinky.
But that's all I see. I mean,
Well, if you want to be KNP,
I am tired of cock pictures.
And hostile journal entries. It's going to be either hostile journal
Yeah.
entries or somebody's genitalia.
Yeah,
or a sparkly butt plug.
yeah. I mean, but it started before FetLife.
Yeah.
On AOL, in the AOL chat room, how most of, like from the Lear side, all of us started in the AOL chat room. And we had some vicious people in that chat room that were horrible, horrible people. We had people calling people's work and outing them. I mean, we had some horrible things. And to this day, some of those people that did that are still respected in the community. And I sit there, I mean, I know all their stories. I've been in it for 20 years. I know all these people's history. And when I see things, I want a fucking barf. Because I think integrity and honesty, your words, your bond, being true, being considerate, being caring. I mean, I think those are really important qualities that we have to have.
Well, that's where I would think that you were totally within your prerogative or whatever to tell people in person about that, you know? Maybe ranting about it on FetLife isn't the right thing to do, but if there's someone you know and I ask you, what do you think of this person?
I'll tell you the truth.
Yeah.
And I have. We
Yeah.
have spoken. And the thing is that, and then you got to really be careful when you do that, because if somebody gets pissed at you and they get close to the person that you ragged on, they'll say, well, Rev Mel said this about you, that you're an asshole, you know?
Yeah.
And then you have a huge, you know, a huge fight on your hands. So
Yeah.
I prefer not to participate in any of these things. And when I give somebody now, you know, when they ask me about somebody, I tell them, pay attention, listen to what they're saying.
Yeah.
It's really important. Make sure that that's the type of person you want to be with.
Yeah.
Don't go for the fluff. Listen to the things that they tell you and watch them.
Well, that's also, I think I wrote a journal entry about community where I was commenting, and you actually made a comment, I think, about a community of individuals, and that it wasn't that, and that made, in your class, and that made me giggle because that was the name of my journal entry, was a community of individuals. And my point was that I think sometimes community can be a detriment because someone new will come in, they'll be trying to look who's safe, who, you know, and they'll see,
And who's popular.
right, and they'll see somebody who's popular
Yeah.
and not bother to do their own assessment of whether they actually want to play with this person or not, or get to know them because the community has vouched for them. But the community as a whole necessarily hasn't, they've just not kicked them out,
Yeah.
you know? And so to me, it's all about personal responsibility.
It isn't. When we get out of high school, why did we bring high school to our BDSM? I mean, gossip is horrible. I mean, talking behind people's back, manipulating, doing the things that we did in high school. I see so much of it.
People bond over that stuff,
They found over.
over disliking someone
Yeah.
else.
Mhm.
I was never popular anywhere. Never.
Well, it's possible, I'm speculating at this point, but it's possible that being kinky can make your growing up years harder than they otherwise would have been. So it may be that a person's emotional growth and emotional development could be more challenged for the average kinky person. So they get into adulthood and maybe they haven't really learned to have a more mature outlook on things.
But it seems like the bullies.
Mm.
The bullies come into BDSM. I'm talking about both male and female, submissive and dominant.
Mhm.
I mean, it's like the bullies and the people that weren't bullies. I mean, I was bullied as a child. We have Heather that's in the chat room. Welcome, Heather. So if you're watching the show, we're going to be doing a single tail demo, and it's going to be fun. But so
It won't all be serious and.
no, but I'm enjoying the series.
Mhm.
I'm enjoying it. I think
So my other serious comment was about the things that have been added to FetLife that have made it worse. Now, before FetLife ever showed up, most of my first 2 years I spent at Edges, which was more of a casual, laid-back place. People who were there were tremendously kinky, and they did their thing all the time. But it was a lot different from the San Francisco area, where people seemed more image conscious. So it was relaxed. People didn't bother to try to impress everyone in the same sense. And they would even joke about S&M, meaning stand-in model, for some people who were into the image. And right now on FetLife, when the love button was added, S&M once again became much more stand-in model, in my opinion.
yeah, I
Because
don't think I've ever gotten over 10 of I love it.
Mhm.
You know how long I've been on FetLife, how long I've been in the community. I don't think I've ever gotten over 10, and it doesn't bother me.
Superficial behavior is rewarded intrinsically by the FetLife system.
It's cheerleader. I was never. I mean, that's what it's like. It's like the cheerleaders and the football players all over again.
Mhm.
And I was a geek, so I wasn't. I was the artsy fartsy geek. So I was never ever the popular person, and that's okay.
I grew up in Alaska, and there weren't that many people to impress up there, so it wasn't so much my thing.
Yeah, I think there has been a huge change in the community. And one of the questions that we had asked by Art Miller, he wanted to know, how do you guys feel about, has 50 Shades of Grey changed the way that we do BDSM?
The biggest change noticed is that the people who were already part of it have something to rant about and apparently bond over hatred of. I don't really see that big a change yet. I mean, there have been new people coming in for years, whether they're new and did watch that movie or new and didn't watch that movie or read those books. I don't think really drastically changes things. New people have always trickled on in. Will we have many more of them? It's too early to know.
Yeah, when the book first came out, and I read 220 pages, I go, this is horrible. Why? And you ready for this? It's really important to understand this. Why the fuck didn't people buy my book like this book? My book is written 100 times better than this book. But I had to get over the anger of it. I had to look at the fact of what it's bringing in. It's going to bring in a tremendous amount of curious. There'll only be a few that will stay. And those few that say, you've heard it in my class, will be our leaders in the future. Not all of them will be, but some of them will be. I don't think it's going to change much of our lifestyle.
I don't think it'll change our lifestyle, except that I've seen posters for 50 Shades of Grey on the sides of buses.
Mm-hmm.
So I do think that I hope that it's made it a slightly more acceptable to mention BDSM and talk about it within more mainstream settings. You know, you hear about people at work hearing their coworkers talking about 50 Shades. And so I hope that it's allowed that conversation to come out a little bit more in the vanilla world and not be immediately perceived as fringe, as my mom would call it, or those whips and chains people or whatever. So that's my hope, that it will make that a little easier.
Yeah, my daughter calls it those people.
Yeah.
Because you know those people, they're just like, and I'm like, I'm one of those people.
My mom calls it fringe, and I just pictured like leather fringe on motorcycles, and I can't. It's funny.
Well, fringe is on the outskirts. You know, it's not,
Yeah, I know what she means.
it's
But
not the normal person that's, I mean, but I think we're pretty normal.
I think she dominates the heck out of my dad. So,
I've seen it.
and he loves it. So,
And there are all kinds of different ways to dominate people with different results. And her mom's a bully, and that still is a form of dominating someone.
Yep.
It just gets different kinds of results. It's not great for somebody's self-esteem or confidence.
A lot of dominants are bullies.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of dominants are bullies.
Right.
And I think the ones that are not bullies are the ones that really have some compassion toward other people and can understand that bullying somebody, that's when you take their voice away.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, do you take her voice away?
We were talking about something on the way here, and reflecting on how we're not sure how often we encounter this. We'll encounter people who say either they want to be taken care of and protected and kind of, I need to have someone run my life because I'm submissive and I'm delicate. Or we'll have the people that say, I'm tough and I'm ballsy and I don't need anybody to do anything for me, but I've got this owner over here and they decide what I do. Both of those seem a little extreme to me. I don't really hear about people being somewhere in a setting where they're being supported and helped to be more accomplished, more confident, and so on.
But isn't that our job as a dominant person, is to bring out those qualities in somebody? I mean, isn't it, I feel that, when you're with me, that if you leave me, that you're a better person for you.
Yeah.
Isn't that the way that what we're supposed to do?
I think
Well,
so.
supposed to depends on who's deciding. I am a terribly, terribly practical person, so I don't actually believe in supposed to unless there is a defined goal. But what I want is to have a team that I'm a part of, that I'm leading, that has two happy, healthy, capable people that work well together, and that if supposed to, in order to reach that goal, then yes.
Yeah.
Not everyone has the same goal. I mean, some people do seem to be attracted to the idea of not having the same kind of agency or confidence or vigor in the person who identifies as submissive. And I have to wonder how that's going for them, because I've had a lot of different relationship experiences to where I've seen how hard it can be and you've got somebody who has difficulty with their boundaries and their confidence, and sure, they're gonna, initially it seems easy because it's like, oh well, of course, if they're this incredibly delicate person to me, and not too much for me to handle, then it's going to be easy to get what I want. Well, it doesn't really work that way, because that person winds up feeling put upon by the entire world, and pressured by the world to an extent that they're not really exclusively yours at that point, because they've got too many other pressures that they're responding to. And helping her set boundaries means that those boundaries are there so that other people aren't making her feel like they should be doing other things because she feels pressure from everyone to do things.
But when she came into the relationship with you, she had healthy boundaries, right? No? No?
We both sit here and shake our heads.
Nope, I am going to be totally honest here and say no.
You know me, you know some of my past.
No, but we're not gonna talk about
Right,
that.
I know,
Yeah,
but
that's because
right,
I
but-
respect your privacy and all that.
absolutely, but I'm just saying that I had a breaking point where I was very capable of setting boundaries, but I had to reach that breaking point. And until then, my boundaries were fairly non-existent. Unless I could easily just, get away with not doing something, but,
You are at least 100% more confident than you are the girl that I met.
and that's what I was going to say when you asked, does he take my voice away? If anything, he's helped. I don't know if I'd say he's given it to me, because you can't give someone a voice that had to already be in there, but he's helped it come out so much. And I think that a lot of people who are leading or dominant in relationships, you're saying, isn't that supposed to be your goal or your role? I think that a lot of people feel that it's supposed to be, or that's their desired result. But unfortunately, I'm not sure that a lot of people, best of intentions, actually know how to do that. Because we were talking about this on the way here, and some of that has been in just helping me feel safe and teaching me assertive communication, and stuff like that. But a lot of it has also just been in building my confidence in general, which on the outside would look unrelated to our relationship, like we lift weights together. And since I've gotten stronger, I actually feel more confident on a daily basis just walking down the street and engaging with people. We watch horror movies to try to desensitize. I had a really high startle response, and I didn't handle adrenaline well. And so I would freeze or freak out, and watching horror movies and stuff has helped me desensitize and calm that down to the point where I can handle an adrenaline-fueled situation much better now. So some of it has to do with the typical nurturing, healing, helping somebody get over the past and teaching them how to communicate well with people. But some of it just has to do with raising my confidence within myself, not just by telling me, oh, you're a great person. Because someone can tell you that and you can never believe them.
Oh, I know that.
That's really possible. And so I actually now have the tools where I feel like a more confident, capable, powerful person, whether he's standing next to me or not, even though I feel the best when he's standing next to me.
Art Miller in the chat room says, with regards with regards to boundaries, how do you think about subspace? And if I also want you to answer that question, but also before you answer that question, do you identify as a sub or a slave?
I identify as a slave, but I also feel that I have a submissive personality. So I think those are two somewhat different things. I think that's changed a little bit because, as he was talking about, I think I was submissive to most of the world. And I'm learning to be submissive to him and not everybody else. But yeah, I mean, I identify as a slave, and that would be my relationship goal.
In subspace, what is your, let's talk, because where do you go when you go into subspace? What gets you there?
Well, I mean, the obvious one is play can get me there. But, S&M,
What got you there last night?
Sucking his dick, no, just joking.
I remember what we were doing last night.
I have to.
But no, being submissive, like doing submissive acts can get me into subspace. Foot worship. That kind of stuff. Have like,
Of being of service.
right, being of service and feeling that my status to him is lowered, makes me feel really calm and peaceful. Something about that, that is, I think, that being taken care of. I don't know, now I'm feeling inarticulate.
Let me see if I can.
I guess I would
What do you think
say
about
that
subspace? It's a very general question.
I usually think of subspace as something that happens in SM play, and it doesn't happen for me very often.
So he also says, subs have all the power, great role in teaching and learning. So do you think that subs have the power?
I would be pretty sad if I had all the power. I think that bottoms have all the power if they want to. I think that submissives versus slaves maintain a certain degree of power in that they get to veto, I don't like that saying, because why would I want to be in a power exchange relationship where I'm the one that's not in control if secretly I had all the power?
Charles, what do you think?
Yeah,
about
so I'm gonna pass this one back to you.
I can go into some detail. So I'm aware of the kinky paradigm, but I also look at the more scientific views. We have, unfortunately, precious little available to us about human beings. There is a little bit out there. There's more for animals. And if you're going to ask somebody who's scientific, who's looking at what it is that we do, they're going to say that submissive is an umbrella that underneath it has all of these different relationship archetypes.
Mm-hmm.
So a slave, for example, is a popular archetype that says that there is a one-time consent, to where you don't negotiate every little thing. Somebody's not, waiting to wave their veto stick all the time. It's just something that you do at once, and so it's a pretty major kind of trust and commitment to walk into a relationship with. The sub archetype may be similar in that they're looking to have somebody else lead them, but the way I usually see it is that they have sometimes I describe the difference between sub and slave as being a slave means you have mandatory obedience. Being a sub means you have voluntary obedience. So you're generally offering it, putting it forth, cooperating. If you're a slave, you're liable to get, by most people, if you're resisting, you're likely to be treated forcibly.
Mm-hmm. I like that. So, Art Miller, is that answering some of your questions? It's how long we've gone so far? Forever.
Oh, no, really?
What does that say?
9:18.
Wow. So what I think we might do is, I want to ask more questions. Let's go a little bit more, some more questions, and then what we'll do is then we'll take it out with the single tail, and then we'll sit down for a couple seconds to talk about the single tail a little bit, because I think it's really important. But I'm really enjoying the dynamics of talking about relationships, and talking about subs and dominance. So, as a dominant, what is something that what is a big limit for you? I'm not talking about scat and all that sort of stuff. I'm talking about a relationship. What is a big limit for you?
It needs to be something that's sustainable. And honestly, that gives you a lot of latitude.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't say, well, you can do this, you can't do that. It says,
so consistency.
It says if you can do this and make this work on a long-term basis for you, go to it. So not being sustainable would be something that I would have a problem with, because That's saying that you care more about this moment than you care about tomorrow, and that you don't care if you have it tomorrow.
So does she have what you have, what you desire as far as what a slave should be like?
Well, she does have that collar around her neck, you know, so that must have meant something to me.
I
Yeah,
would say
she's-
it's a work in process.
when we were walking up here, we were finishing our conversation about, you know, some of these related topics, and I said that honestly, whether somebody feels submissive to me or not, what I'm looking for is obedience,
Mhm.
and I have that from her. I've had that from her since, I would say, probably day 3.
Is it,
She was a little slow, but I mean, she got there eventually.
is it her wiring?
Mhm.
Is that how she's wired? Is she wired for obedience?
The way this stuff works,
Because I'm
is-
sure not wired by obedience.
right, the way this stuff works, from what I gathered, is that dominance and submission is all about how we interact socially. There is dominance and submission in terms of the way people feel, the way people act in vanilla relationships too, but it's all subtle, it's implied, it's not necessarily official unless there's some sort of an institution. So we have it, we just don't necessarily acknowledge it and discuss it or negotiate it as thoroughly as kinky people do. And I also believe that people are capable of both dominant and submissive feelings. The question is, what have you had most experience with throughout your life? Because people tend to be drawn to what's familiar, to, you know, and if you're, you know, if you've had, you know, all these years of experience of being in a situation that where you have felt in some ways dominant, whether you had dominant status with somebody or not, if you just tended to feel that way, if you were a very independent, self-starting person or whatever, you know, it's going to be easier for you to connect to those feelings than to say, well, now I want to try feeling submissive. I want to try being submissive. Well, that's great, and you're going to be capable of it, but now you're going to have to start from square one.
So let's talk about pro-dom, because it says that a lot of very strong, successful businessmen who have a tremendous amount of power in the vanilla world, a lot of them have a tendency to be submissive in the private
Mhm.
world. I mean, they have to function in both realities. They can't be consistent if they're functioning in both realities. I mean, does that make a difference? Did that come out right? No?
Well, I know the topic you're bringing up. I'm
Yeah.
not sure about exactly what the question is.
I mean, a lot of people, I mean, if you're a strong person, I think it's that release of submitting to someone and allowing and letting go of what their normal life is like.
Mhm.
It's like a fantasy.
Well, I think
But
that's
could
maybe,
they constantly do this? Could a man that is in that type of life that is so strong in the outside world, could he really be a submissive on 24/7 basis?
I mean, to me, that seems like an example of what he was saying, where a lot of us, if not all of us, are capable of both feelings. And that would probably be an example of somebody that has had a priority in their life of a certain kind of career that led them toward being dominant and in charge. And they were good at that, and they had that capacity. And because it was a priority, they went there, but they also have the desire to be submissive. I mean, that kind of is what stands out to me from what you're saying about that. So I think that it would probably be hard for them to be submissive 24/7 unless whatever drove them to be dominant in their career became no longer important to them. Then maybe they could be.
Yeah, I think I was submissive. I was never been submissive. I surrendered once, but I never want to go back there. It's just not something that, that I think about. I think about, oh, I will meet somebody and submit to them and do their bidding, and I just don't have that in me. I've always had to be a strong person and strong-willed.
Mhm.
Art Miller wants to know, how do you think about the concept of owning a person, slave or sub?
Well, I mean, I've owned her.
We think it's great.
I'm digging it.
I don't know. I'm not quite sure a little broad, so I'm not quite sure exactly what the question would be.
Well,
but-
legally, we can't tell anybody. Let's clarify that. If you're a vanilla person and you're on YouTube or on Google Plus or anywhere else that you're watching the show, legally, we cannot own someone, okay? This is a structure that you explain why we do this.
Hmm?
Explain why we do this, why we own people, and what it means to you.
It's fulfilling. It's emotionally fulfilling.
Well, I don't recall who the quote is by, but there's a quote that says that in the end, we are what we pretend to be. So, you know, if your state of mind is a certain way, it doesn't really matter what the law says,
Right.
because the law doesn't decide how we feel.
That's where I think people get into those arguments. I see them all the time online about, well, but legally you can leave. And yes, legally, if we're talking legally, someone can leave at any time. That is true. You can't take that away from the law. That is true. But that does not mean, I don't think, that people can't get to a state of mind where they feel that they are not capable of leaving. It also doesn't mean that that people can't decide between themselves that they're not going to bring the law into their relationship to that degree. But yes, for the new vanilla people, technically there is no legal contract you can sign to own somebody.
Everyone's just faking it until you make it. And there's a benefit in that one.
Yeah, but the faking part is not about what you do, but how you feel.
Yeah, I could never fake it to be a submissive and
Mhm.
fake it and act like I'm really happy with it,
Right.
because it would kill me.
Yeah.
It would kill my
It would not be
spirit.
sustainable.
No, it would not be sustainable.
Yeah.
I could not continue that mannerism as far as acting like I'm submissive. You know, we're wired this way.
Yeah, you got to connect to those feelings, or you've got nothing. And it is possible. It's just much, much harder for people who are unfamiliar with it. In our example, we got to the point where I had never really dabbled in anything other than the occasional little bit of bottoming in the past. And we got to a point where I thought it might be beneficial for us to try having play dates where she's dominant. And one of my motivations for doing that was that it's, you know, I already feel like I've got gobs and gobs of power in this relationship, so I'm not worried about that. Honestly, if anybody needs a little bit of empowerment, it's her. So, you know, it's not easy for me to connect to feelings like that because they're so unfamiliar for me. But, you know, I did my best, she does her best, and honestly, I've seen her feeling mighty confident the day after.
It's true.
So it's just one more thing.
Okay, I'm glad you brought this up because I have viewed so many conversations and so many people, especially female submissive and male submissive, or some that I've seen who have said, "Oh my, I could never do that. I could never see my master submit. That would take it away. It would ruin things for me." I mean, how do you guys feel about comments like that?
I was one of those. I used to run around, it's probably online somewhere, written in stone forever, of me saying, I don't have a dominant bone in my body. As well as figuring that I could never see the person that owns me be submissive because, you know, it would. I figured it would ruin it. And it was scary. And we started just more with topping, you know, and I didn't really have a problem seeing somebody that owned me be a masochist or take it up the butt. I mean, that's pleasurable and sensual, you know, and that's not about control necessarily. And my ideals actually got in the way of that for a while. And we realized I was seeing things very black and white. And so it's not like it was a quick, easy, oh, no problem, whatever. You know, it did take a little bit of mental wrangling to let go of that idea that in order for somebody to be dominant, they are dominant 100% of the time, at all times.
But we have a lot of people walking around going, I would never submit. I would never, you know, bottom. I'm a dominant. I could never do that. And I look at them when they say that, and I think this is horseshit.
Yeah.
I mean, I submitted. I was training. You know, my submissive wanted to learn how to. He felt he wanted to be dominant, and we played. And everybody said to me afterwards, oh, we always knew you were submissive. Bullshit. Bullshit. Watching this, listening to these comments, life is constantly evolving and changing. You took a risk letting her top you because you're dominant and you didn't know she might like this, she might not want to be submissive, or she may disrespect me. I mean, you have to have really great communication in order to do this. I mean,
No doubt. Honestly, it's taken. I had this stuff kind of organized in my head for a long time before it ever really made sense to her. But
It's true.
she's pretty much caught up now.
I mean, communication skills has to be really important in having a DS relationship.
Yeah, no doubt whatsoever. Lots of journaling, lots of notes taken. We've got it for our short term, most like relevant right now kinds of notes. We have a giant whiteboard in our house that we take little notes on because we want that stuff to be not forgotten if it's going to help us. One of the things that having those play dates that, like I said, they weren't just about switching top to bottom. They were about letting her experience feelings of dominance and me trying to connect to feelings of submission, is that it helped her to unravel some of her prejudices and biases about what it means to be dominant and submissive, because some of that stuff, as I said, her mom was a bully, about one of her exes. So she had an opportunity to take a completely fresh look at both types of people and figure and start to realize, oh, I have some biases about what it means to be submissive, and I'm seeing that because I'm seeing it in another person. Now I can see it in myself too. Really opens things up.
So it is a misconception of what dominants do. So it's hard.
Yeah.
It's hard always being the person making the decision, running everything, taking that personal responsibility.
Responsibility is what gets me. Oh God.
Yes.
Yeah, it's tough, but I mean, if you find yourself capable of doing that, you've reached a certain level of confidence. So it does test yourself. It tests to say, how much confidence do I have? How much confidence am I lacking? What can I do to build that? What can I do to work on it?
Building confidence in yourself and in others is really important. We have a question when we go into a different topic really quickly. Protocol. Art Miller wants to know about if you guys have protocol. He said, what do you think of protocol?
A little bit. I think it's good to have, but I am, as I said, a very practical person. So yes, to a certain extent, it's nice, and I understand the attention to having things be flashy or dramatic, but I want something that is going to be part of my life for years. Not something that I'm going to try for a little bit and say, oh, I got this thing. I got these 5 things. And I'm not going to have them 6 months from now, but right now I got these 5 things.
Is rituals also included in that? Protocols and rituals?
We've tried rituals a little bit. It's been a little more hit and miss on the rituals. The protocol for sure, though. The big one, the simple one is we discovered that when I wanted something early in the relationship, it wasn't necessarily clear to her that I wanted something from her or wanted her to do something. And it wasn't necessarily clear to me that she knew that and understood that. So as you know, in the military, somebody's given an order, there's a clear affirmation. She's very cutesy and girly and little sometimes. And so, I see her bouncing around the house and it occurred to me that a yes master with a little curtsy would fit her style, and it has done wonders for us in terms of, it doesn't just affirm the type of relationship we have, it makes our communication crystal clear.
So, and Heather says, Art Miller says, I love the insight on bias and responsibility. What's this word? I don't remember reading last of it.
Reiterates.
relieves the importance of education. Yeah, it does, and Heather says, yes, that she agrees with this.
Yeah. I wouldn't expect to find all of your education about relationships in the kink community or books written by kinky people, however. The same tools that work for people in these kinds of relationships work for a lot of other kinds of relationships. And kinky people aren't necessarily experts, and half the time kinky people are thinking with their genitals. And that doesn't necessarily lead to something that's practical or sustainable, which are things I kind of like.
Hey, you're thinking with your cat.
Sometimes, which can be good depending on your goals.
Right. If you're looking for a weekend play date, that that kind of stuff can be fine. But if you're looking for something that you can live with day in, day out, I tend to like to look elsewhere for my relationship stuff.
You guys that are watching, how would you guys like to see some singles? And you're gonna have to let us set up. This is gonna be quite comical because you're gonna see us moving around, setting up lights, moving the camera. Because, remember, I'm the board guy, the cameraman, the everything, and I get paid shit.
And the possible single tail demo, right? Demo bottom, right?
She's been practicing. She can do it.
No, no, you guys in the chat room don't want to see me being single tail. No way, no way.
I just wanted to see the look on your face.
She's been practicing
when I
that
said
thing where people get their tongue single tails used.
No. So we're gonna move around a little bit, so you're gonna enjoy watching this. And I gotta adjust something so we can see it on the camera over here on the big screen. We have a big screen over here, so we have lots of computers over there, and so we're gonna be moving around the studio. I miss my big studio with 5 different cameras all over the place. I miss it. So we're gonna move. You're gonna keep your chair where it's at, because that's our standing chair for when we put it all back together. And then what I'm gonna do is I'm going to move these chairs, and you guys set up your lights and your positioning. I'll turn the lights on, and when you guys are ready, we'll do it with the lights on a little bit, and then we'll dim the lights down so you guys can watch it in living black and neon.
Yeah, these cameras can only show so much, but we did our best to try to make it visible. They're 10 times as fiery bright if you're looking here with your naked eyes.
So
we'll show you what we can.
Come here and come watch.
So we're gonna move around. We're gonna move stuff off of here.
Not
So
moving
we'll put
this
it back.
chair.
No, don't move that
I
chair.
totally just moved it, but I put it back.
And we're gonna be talking, and we don't need to move this table, but we're gonna move these over here. See, will these be in your way if I put them over here? You're gonna put them over here. Yeah, and we could. I don't think this chair is in it, so okay. Here's your. Hold on, let me get in front of the camera.
I'll do a little dance till they're ready.
Yeah, and then I'll adjust the camera, and this is so much fun. See, this is real. This is real gorilla fight.
All right, where do I need to be?
Same place you were before, yes.
I know, but
Okay, over there. So we'll get. We're going to adjust. Let me turn off all the other lights.
Mm-hmm.
So we got other
oh,
lights
it's back.
on.
Okay.
So you guys see the blue? And then I'm going to adjust this camera so it goes higher. Okay. Oh, too much. There we go. I think that was it, wasn't it?
And we still have lights on.
Yeah.
It might have been forward.
A little bit forward.
Yeah. Looks like she's got one more step. There you go. Right there. That's good. Back one step.
Yeah, and then I'm going to dim the lights. He's going to start doing it without the lights dimmed.
Oh, okay.
I got a couple of different whips there. So I'll start with the small ones. Does it seem visible?
Yeah.
I'll try the bigger whips since they're a little easier to see.
And then I'm going to go for the thing here. I can make you move it up too, so we move it around. Okay, cool. There we go.
All right.
Ah.
I giggle.
How's it look?
Right.
You're gonna get whipped until Art Miller says he's had enough.
Uh-oh. Let me get my iPad. Who's gonna say it? They go, nice dance. They go, tell Mel.
I knew they'd want it.
Ow. Ow. All right, I'll let him do one. Okay.
All right. Probably the littler ones, huh?
Yeah, I'm gonna.
Yes, you want the little one.
You understand what we're doing? Turn around where you can watch it come up.
There you go. We actually did a scene like that where we had two
Oh, yeah.
bottoms and they were fast
Tied
together.
people together. I have my clothes on. So do I.
Ow! Oh, Daddy!
Oh.
Wow, apparently it's working.
Is this shirt right? Oh, Daddy! Okay, all
You
right.
You good?
You
All
can
right.
go back. Yee! Got the light.
You moved in closer to me.
Ah. Mm. 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 Ha. Ow!
Chased right into the other room.
So do it toward this way so you can see what it looks like.
Sure. A little rotation.
No demo bottom needed. Oh, that looks really cool.
Try the longer ones. Let's see if it gets toward the camera more. I'll step back.
Oh, yeah.
Cool. Woo! Okay, now we got to adjust back to our. Look at her dancing. That's hysterical. We're going to turn on some lights and we're
Okay.
going to adjust. So I'm going to.
Okay.
Ready?
Ready.
Okay, sit down, and then we're going to adjust the camera back down.
So let me bring the chairs down.
Thank you. Thank you. This worked out really well. We're just having fun. And then we'll do a closeout.
Okay.
They said we needed music. I know we
Yeah.
We
needed
usually
music.
have music.
Yeah.
We should have thought of that.
Sometimes we bring a laser light projector and a fog machine, but didn't pack the big bag today.
There we are. Oh, there we go. Oh, there it goes. Perfect. I moved the thing around a little bit. There we go.
All right.
Ta-da!
After your snuggle, right? There we go. That's some action, right?
So how long have you been throwing a whip?
Since I was 10.
Since you were 10.
Yep, in Alaska, there were lots of places to practice.
So you got a whip in Alaska, and that's how you started?
Yep, I borrowed one from a neighbor kid for about a month,
Yeah.
and didn't want to give it back, but he wanted it back. That was when I was 10. When I was 16, I got my first couple of whips. I got a 6-foot whip and an 8-foot whip, and used those a lot.
How many whips do you have?
I wish I knew. I'm going to guess around 50.
I have no whips.
Oh.
Do you make your own?
No, but they tend to be all custom.
Yeah.
So I generally talk about the details of how I want them made, but they're very complex to make.
So, a whip, you have to have, it goes to, you've got to work it, and it goes to the flow of the way you throw. Is that right? It has a feel of, like, the person that owns it, when you're using it, has that feel.
It varies a little bit. Leather whips tend to be a little more like that than nylon whips. I have both kinds.
Yeah.
Oh, we have, I don't know if it'll show up on a camera, but we have a whip that might be especially interesting to see.
Oh, I can bring it close to the camera.
Exactly.
Speaking of
The devil.
leather whips, I'm not sure if you ever looked at the handles on those so you can see what it is.
Oh, these are beautiful.
You find them. Here it says Allegra.
Oh my
And
God.
here it says Charles.
Let me see if I can get that up there. Hold on to that one.
Oh yeah, I think you can read that.
Yeah, reading both, yeah.
Kind of. The light's glaring a little, but.
So our names are braided right into the handle.
Wow. So let me see these. I'm gonna stand behind them. Whoops, I don't want to get them. What?
Yeah, they're probably a little long for you here.
Yeah, they're a little long. So I can throw a single tail.
But yeah, we've got lots of videos of demos, exhibitions, classes, and whatnot on our profile, so people can see us doing more of this stuff.
So what's next for you guys? You can move closer.
Yeah.
Well,
I was trying to see if we were in.
Well, we're going to be doing a little show for the Citadel coming up. Do you recall what the date is roughly?
April 17th, I want to say.
It's on our profile.
Yeah.
We've got all the events that we do. We try to list them up there along with an event link. And they're doing their first blacklight party, which is fun because I've been getting into blacklights lately. We didn't show the light that I use, but it's a little
I can go get it.
battery powered. Sure. People might be interested to see that just because they're going to wonder, how do you get that light? You can get them from all kinds of different places for a conventional light, but this one is battery powered and powerful both. So it's got
Should we turn it
got a
on?
lithium battery. Well, it'll pretty much blind the camera.
Turn it on and kill him.
Right into the camera. Yeah, so we'll be doing a whip demo there. It'll have the black light,
So what does something
the
like
whip,
this
the
light
fog
work?
machine.
What does something like this run?
That's about $400.
Wow.
So it's one of the more expensive ones, but it's got an 8-hour battery built into it, and it's toy bag sized, and it will totally change the way you play. So not cheap, but I mean, you can put it up there with things like Violet Wand and whatnot. So $400, if it seriously changes the way you play and it fits in your toy bag, you know.
I think it's awesome.
Yeah.
And then how many? I mean, who makes all your whips? Do you buy them at different places?
Different people, yeah. Lauren, the whip chick, who's local to LA, I haven't actually met her in person yet. She makes some of them. I've gotten a few from 21st Century Whips all over.
Wonderful. They want to ask. I mean, they've asked about your pain special.
My pain threshold?
Mhm.
Oh, I would not say that it's that high.
She doesn't seem to have any nerve damage, Has your pain?
Ow!
Her pain threshold
You
seems
pinched me.
fine.
Yeah, no, I'm not a heavy duty masochist in that, if I have a hardcore warm up or something, I can take it, and I have in the past, but mostly I say ow pretty quickly, and then I start giggling.
What about humiliation? Did you both do humiliation?
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And what's your favorite type of humiliation play?
Well, tell them about last night.
Oh, okay, see, you keep throwing this one at me.
Mhm.
You tell about last night, please.
Well, I can introduce the activity, but I was on the receiving end, so, I got a kick out of it, but you're gonna have the more subjective, I had this done to me feeling.
Okay.
I told her, let's see, we've been, like, since we've been down here, we've had a little bit of travel stress, being out of our environment, and so we were talking about doing something playful and sexual, and I was having a hard time feeling like I was in the mood because I don't exactly feel empowered when I'm juggling these things that don't all seem to be at my behest. So we're trying to figure out, how we were going to get in the mood for this. So we started out with some of the foot worship, which was nice. She gets down there, she gives me a foot rub, she, licks my toes and sucks on them and, all that kind of stuff. And I turned over on my stomach and I told her to tongue my asshole.
Right. Yes.
So why don't you take it from there now that I've introduced you?
What am I supposed to say about it?
Well, I asked you after you did it how it felt to you. Why don't you describe what happened and how it made you feel?
I think it made, what did I say? I ended with saying it made me feel very submissive.
Yeah, you said that you felt very low, very submissive.
I like feeling low.
You're the dog.
Yeah. Well, because it's one of those things that I don't personally, I wouldn't just jump in and be like, I want to do that because it's hot and sexy for me. And I enjoy having those things done to me or ordered of me to do something that wouldn't necessarily be my preference, because then I start to feel more like I'm being controlled.
I like that.
Yeah, being told to do something that you wouldn't do unless somebody else was having you do it is a lot different from being told to do something that would be your preference.
Yeah, I like that. So it's I like the fact of having people. I'm not even gonna go there. I don't do sex for a while, so we're not even. So let's talk about sex.
Did you say let's not, or let's start?
No, let's not talk about sex.
So you weren't thinking about putting a condom over this?
No, I don't do insertables.
Oh.
Yeah, I don't.
Give or receive, neither one.
I've fucked a few asses before with men's asses with dildos and have trained their butts for their butt can receive
Tubs of lube.
Yeah, tubs of lube. I have a little hand.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that looks like a fisting hand right
and
there.
it bends. So.
How many tubs? How many bottoms?
So they're all the way back to San Francisco. They're gonna go. Let's imagine Rev Mel fisting. So, what advice do you guys have for people that are just getting into a lifestyle? I'm gonna switch over
from fists of
from
butt
fist to.
I can't even say it. Don't start there.
No. Well, I don't know. Maybe they haven't restarted there, so maybe that got them into kink. Maybe it's their fetish. They can't come unless they're being fisted.
Well, I didn't mean fisting bad, just the tubs of lube, the communal tubs of lube. Okay. Advice well, he often likes to say, so I will say this because I think it makes a lot of sense to me, to read both fiction and nonfiction. Because I think a lot of people talk about education, and I believe that's very important to get educated in technique or relationship dynamics or stuff like that. But I think it's also really important to get in touch with what turns you on and what makes you hot. And if you just read it's fine to read this beauty series or be turned on by 50 Shades. Not that I was, but
Did you read the beauty series?
The first one.
I read all three of them in one weekend.
Yeah.
Wow, I read the first one and half of the second one. Didn't get through all of them. I wound up intending to, lending them out, and they came back and they were water damaged. The hardcover books were just permanently like that.
Did you get to the cat scene? If you got to the cat scene, you'd remember. I'll tell you something. I can't. I gotta go. You guys gotta go home now. I gotta go masturbate. No. So, what was the question I asked you about?
What's your advice?
And your advice?
Don't don't try to learn it all, whatever your goals might be. Don't try to learn it all in one place. And certainly not strictly from the kinky community, because they have their status quo and their ways of doing things that may meet certain needs for certain people. Don't expect that that's going to meet all of your needs. Make sure that you bring your individuality into this. And if that's difficult to do, if you feel like you need to be validated by other people, be very careful about that, because there's a danger that you won't actually wind up being validated for what it is that you desire, but you might instead settle for being validated by doing what someone else is doing, because it's okay because they're doing it and they're more experienced, therefore I'm going to do things that way. Make sure that whatever it is that you're doing because it fits you, because it feels right to you, and don't learn it all in one place.
Charles, any regrets?
None I can think of. I don't tend to spend a lot of time on them.
Okay. Allegra, any regrets?
Absolutely. I did not see the Mighty Wind when they were touring on concert. Which is actually related to BDSM. It's because I had just broken up with my first boyfriend, because at the time I was still vanilla and didn't know how to explain my desire for BDSM, and I was very upset, and so I didn't go to the concert of the Mighty Winds singing. They were all on stage.
Sounds like a result of a stomach problem.
He hasn't watched it.
Well, I want to thank you both for coming onto the show. This has been a pleasure. I mean, they're here on business, and so I'm glad you took the time to be able to come and be on the show. And I've been wanting them on the show for a while. This is much better than just being on video webcam. You know, we got to share our moments. We got to show how guerrilla we are as far as broadcasting. But
You have to be single-tailed.
I know. And you know what? A lot of people have missed it. But they will. Once they find out, they go,
Get back in and see it.
Yeah, and our shows are normally, as you guys know, an hour long. But this was a very, very special time. But I have a couple announcements that I want to make. Or I think really one announcement is the fact that on March 8th, coming up this Sunday, is the 12th anniversary of TSR Network from broadcasting. And for all the people that said we would not last, we have outlasted K-Sex, all of them, and we're still broadcasting, which is pretty amazing, on no budget. So what it is basically Allegra has offered us the venue for free, and everything that we take in goes to keeping free live BDSM TV going. So, you know, if you can't make it to the event, you can go and click on the Eventbrite, and you can donate. You can maybe like buy 3 tickets, you know, and donate, you know, the money to TSR Network. This is, you know, I think we're looking at a sponsor too, so things are looking up. So I'm really, really happy about it. Pretty soon, hope to God we can get back into a really big studio like we used to. But I'm really looking forward to next Sunday. The doors open up at 6. It's a play party. We're having a raffle. We have some amazing gifts as raffle. We have a sub cane, which is a round cane that is going to be auctioned off. A regular cane by Rope Daddy. We have the Allegra is offering 3 months platinum membership for someone that buys a raffle, or that wins a raffle. And also we have 3 days at, which I want. If I could get this, but I can't do it because, yeah, it's my company.
You Rev Mel won. How did that happen?
I don't know. But Liberty Manor in Texas, which is the very first BDSM town, they're giving 3 days in their glam tent. So if you get to Texas, they'll pick you up at the airport, and they'll bring you in. It's the most amazing weekend that you'll ever have, surrounded in nature with nothing but BDSM people, play parties, horseback riding, gun shooting, bow and arrow shooting, lots of play. The food, the barbecues are amazing. So they're offering, 3 days at their glam tent. And they have these glam tents that are absolutely amazing. We have a glass dildo that was beautiful one donated to us. We have some Chibari stuff that has been donated to us, and by Z Element. So I mean, if you want to donate a toy or something, just give me a ring on FetLife at Rev Mel on FetLife, and let's do this. So I'm really excited about it. And you guys, I'm going to disappear. I'm going to say my goodbye, and I'm going to disappear because I'm a bored person. So this is hysterical, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
and
You
people
do it well.
But people want to volunteer, and I'm like, I don't know if this is just so casual.
Yeah.
This is just like home. You know, we're baking cookies. You know, this is what it feels like. But I want to thank you all for watching the Rev Mel Show on TSRnetwork.com, where real people talk about real sex, and where we are changing the world one vanilla at a time. Good night, everybody, and say good night to them. Bye-bye.
Let's say thank you to our studio audience over here. Put them all in the studio.
Get a hold of you guys?
Well, our FetLife profile is Charlegra, Charlegra, and that's something that we keep up with. We've got a discussion group on there that we try to keep active as well. That's Masters and Slaves Uncensored, which you know, it's a smaller group. It's got a little over 2,000 people, but what I really like about it is I've managed to keep it running and active without needing to shut any conversations down, which happens in a lot of the bigger forums. You see threads suddenly disappeared, deleted, locked, and so forth, and I've managed to keep them going, and it's nice to give people a chance to speak their minds and you know, still keep it civil, and I've managed to steer it that direction.
Thank you, you guys.
Thank you.
Hold on a second, there she goes.